Hey guys, good afternoon. Okay, so if you're anything like me, you're still drinking coffee even though it's a little after 2 o'clock. Like I drink coffee a lot, especially when it's a long day. But I wanted to get onto this coffee time with you guys because my sister and I were having a conversation this morning and we were talking about some of the information that's coming out about the JFK, well, JFK files. And it's just a bit astounding. She was on the phone with me. We're just talking. We were talking about soap operas. And then out of nowhere, she goes, "Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness." And I'm like, "What? What happened? Like, did Sonny kill Valentine? Like, what's going on? What's, oh my goodness." And she says, they're saying that Israel had something to do with the with the assassination of JFK. And I got wide eyed and I said, Asia, that's my twin sister. If that turns out to be true, we are going to have some serious issues, more issues than we already have with Israel. Because, like, yo, this is a problem. Now, Candace Owens, I don't know if you guys are like me, you watch Candace, huge fan. I really want one of them Standish cups because I just love the Standish cups. I'm like, I love it. I love her Candace cups. I love them. I think they're just so great. I don't like the big one she has. I like the small ones. Anyhow, side note. But she was talking on her podcast about how Israel might have something to do with this, especially when you look at how LBJ, when he became the president, how he was with Israel. She did an interview of a surviving soldier who had been attacked when he was on a battleship. I believe the name of the ship was, I want to say the USS Liberty, but I could be getting that wrong. So you guys get in the comments, let me know if I'm getting that wrong. I'm just going to have to go back and watch that episode. But he was a surviving soldier. And he had written Candace a letter talking about how something like this had happened because she was talking about it on her show, right? She had just been fired from the Daily Wire because she dared question what was going on with Israel and Bibi Netanyahu and why this is no longer about justice for the Israelis, that this seems like it was an ethnic cleansing, that this seems like it's genocidal. And I stayed out of this conversation because my whole thing was I just don't want to be involved. Like, whether you think that this is what this is, I don't want to be involved in this. I am America first. And I'm at the point where I'm believing that America first really just means putting our interests first, yet still having some relations with other countries. And not so much that I'm trying to be an isolationist, but really that we're willing to involve ourselves with conflicts in other regions of the world, the Middle East, Europe. I would like to not have anything to do with either of these conflicts because neither one of them have anything to do with us, right? It's like, okay, Russia, Ukraine, it's got nothing to do with us. Israel and the Palestinians, it's got nothing to do with us. Beyond Jerusalem becoming the capital of the Middle East, I don't care. It's like I was really excited when that happened because this was, as a person of faith, this is what this says in the scripture, that when this happens, you know what time you're in. And when it happened, I was so excited. I mean, there were some Christians who were Democrats, and obviously they were not happy about this because, you know how Black Americans are, right? Black Democrats don't really like Jews. I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to Black folk, and they don't like the Jewish people. Like, they just don't like it. And honestly, I think it's because they're just jealous of the Jews. I think they're jealous, not even just Jewish people. I think they're jealous of Jewish and the Muslims. I think they prove you could be a minority and still be successful. And that's not the case with Black Americans. We look at the majority of Black Americans, right? Like, the Muslims, the Jewish, the Asians, they show you can be a minority and successful. So I think there's a little bit of jealousy there for why they don't like the Jewish people. There might be a little bit more there. But now, I used to defend the Jewish people. I still do, right? I still defend them. I don't defend Bibi Netanyahu. I'm not even defending Israel at this point, right? Like, I want nothing to do with this war at all. Like, at all. If Netanyahu wants to war with them, let them war. I just don't want to be in this at all, okay? I don't want to be in this. And then you start listening to people like Candace Owens and they talk about the problems of Bibi Netanyahu. You start listening to other voices who are libertarian and conservative, and a lot of them are saying the same thing, that Bibi Netanyahu is incredibly suspicious. You listen to people like Jeffrey Sachs, and he, you don't really know which side of the aisle he's on. He's just like, this is a problem and we should do something, at least the bare minimum, maybe stay out of it. That's about as much as we can ask for. But we don't seem to want to do that. And so Israel is under a lot of scrutiny from a lot of Americans. We don't want to be involved, whether it's because you want to defend the Palestinians or you're taking the America first, I want to be Switzerland route. I want to be neutral, not have anything to do with this. Israel is under a lot of fire as far as a lot of questions, right? Both literally and figuratively. They're just dealing with a lot of problems with the West, particularly with the United States, because we want nothing to do with this conflict. And now this alleged story, the story that says that they are likely to have been involved in the assassination of JFK. And it's like, if that turns out to be true, you guys, because this is what I said to my sister, if this turns out to be true, Israel's going to have even more problems with the American people. Now, obviously, JFK was dead long before I was born, right? Long before I was born. But my parents are boomers. They remembered the day when when they were told JFK had been killed. My grandmother was crying. My mother couldn't believe it. People just couldn't believe that this was actually had happened. It was like very much how we felt. I always relate how they describe what they went through on that day, very similarly to how I felt on the day of 9/11. Someone was telling me that someone had knocked the building, had flown planes into a building, and I was a child, so I was like, no, they didn't. No one could knock down a man-made thing, right? Like no one could knock down the Twin Towers. Like no, you just can't believe it. You're in your classrooms, everything is normal, and then your teachers just start crying and you don't even know why, and they're sending you home and you don't know why, and the next thing you know, when you find out what happened, you can't even believe it because you're children, you just can't believe it. But the adults are just like, I can't believe this, and what are we going to do now? Humanity always has a way of showing up, and Christ has a way of showing up in the worst of tragedies, and you see people really just showing up for each other and loving each other and being there for each other. And then, like that's what you deal with, right? And so when you're looking at the situation now, in hindsight, this was a horrible thing that happened, but was the administration really trying to protect its citizens? Was the administration not responsible for the terrible thing happened? And we're told that we're conspiracy theorists if we dare think that our government could be responsible for this, that people who we believe to be our allies are capable of doing such horrible things to us. We just can't believe that people who you thought were your friends are actually not your friends. People that you thought you could trust, you actually can't trust. And we're conspiracy theorists if we dare suggest that this nation that we say is our friend, that is Israel, had something to do with this. Now, why do we say this? Because Candace went into this. There is an entity here in the United States that has yet to be deemed a foreign entity. Why hasn't that happened yet? And it was right around the time that JFK was trying to make that happen that he gets assassinated. Now, if there's anything we learned from the movie Scarface, when you're trying to take somebody out, you got to take them out before the deed is done. Obviously, Tony didn't get that done. That's why they tried to kill him and did kill him in the movie. When you're trying to take somebody out, you take him out before the deed is done. Clearly, that is what happened with JFK. If what he was trying to do was make sure that this entity had became noticed or had become a foreign entity or registered as a foreign entity, if that was the thing that was supposed to happen, it didn't because he died. Now, there are a few things that were supposed to be prevented because of his position, because he was the president at the time. There were things that weren't supposed to happen and things that, things that were supposed to happen and things that weren't supposed to happen. What wasn't supposed to happen was Operation Mockingbird. While he was alive, it didn't happen. He dies, it happens, which is why you could assume, yeah, our government is responsible. This entity that was Israeli was supposed to be deemed a foreign entity. He dies, and then they don't do that. He was trying to make that happen. He dies. Of course, it doesn't happen. This is not the first time in American history where a president is assassinated. Not the first time. But if there's anything that history shows us is that when someone gets assassinated, it's usually because they were trying to do something or trying to prevent something, and their death made it possible for the thing to happen or for the thing not to happen. And so now I'm at this whole thing where I'm having this conversation with my sister. We're seeing this information or just the speculation of this. And our question, my big question after this is, well, what's the consequence if this turns out to be true? They did attack our soldiers at sea. They did kill our people at sea. And our soldiers who survived were being treated like criminals by our government, LBJ included. He chose to cover it up, lie to the families, lie to the American people, and threaten the survivors, all to protect Israel. So who's to say that LBJ and Israel didn't collude to make this happen, to kill a sitting president? That was the real coup d'etat, people. We were pissed over 2020, and they didn't kill our guy. They got it with mail-in ballots. I'll give you that was a lot smarter. They didn't have to kill nobody to get the deed done. However, that might have been the coup that actually took place. That was the coup right there. And is Israel responsible for that? Is all the stuff that we have to go on with Israel because of JFK's death? Like, you do have to ask those questions, because if this turns out to be true, what is the consequence? Do they get any consequences? They didn't suffer nothing after they killed our soldiers. And our government treated our soldiers who survived that whole ordeal like criminals. They suffered no consequences for that. We still given them money. We still built the Iron Dome. We still giving them weapons. We still giving them money. We still friends with this nation that killed our people. And if it does turn out to be true that they are responsible for killing a sitting president, a sitting U.S. president, because that was at that time, JFK, the sitting U.S. president, if Israel was responsible for this, what is the consequence? What is Trump going to do about this? Because I'm not, if you can have Americans say that they want the survivors of the Tulsa bombing to get some kind of restitution for all that they lost because they're still survivors of that, what does that mean for the survivors of that attack in the sea when LBJ covered it up? They're still surviving. They're survivors from that attack. What do they get for this? What are the consequences against Israel? What happens when you find out if this turns out to be true? And it's true. What happens? What happens if you find out this is true? What does Israel suffer? Do they suffer any consequences? How about we stop sending them money? How about we let Bibi Netanyahu deal with the ramifications of being deemed a war criminal? How about we stop trying to save them? Because again, you guys, beyond Jerusalem becoming the capital of the region, I want nothing to do with that region. I don't like how they treat the Christians in that region. Obviously, Christians are being killed, Christians are being censored, Christians are being treated like trash in Israel. And if you're going to treat my fellow Christian, the people who are in the body of Christ that way, why am I your friend? Why are we your friend? You killed some of my people back in the day. You might even be responsible for killing a former president of my nation. Why are we friends with these people? If it turns out to be true, you guys, what are the consequences? You guys get in the comments, let me know what you think about this, because this is kind of astounding to me. This is crazy. It's crazy. If this turns out to be true, it's going to be something to discuss. So I'm going to keep doing the deep dive. I am going to do an episode of Archie's Briefings. It's not going to be on this because I got to take a look at this information myself. I got to go doing the deep dive. I might even go so far and to get AI involved in my research, because I need to look at this, because if this turns out to be true, I want consequences. I'm not okay with nations getting away with killing my people and killing my sitting presidents. I don't care if I like you, don't like you, because if they try to do the same thing, if someone tried to kill Obama, I'd be sad about that. Like, y'all don't like. Y'all saw how I was reacting to the dang divorce, okay? Y'all don't know, like, y'all like possible divorce. I don't know how I feel, okay? I don't gotta like you, but the fact that you were my president, the fact that he was a president, JFK was the president of this country, that's enough for me. And if Israel turns out to be guilty, I want consequences. So we're going to keep our eye on this story, you guys. If you have any information, if you looked at the files, if you saw something, definitely get in the comments and share it with me. Put the links, cite your sources, because I'm going to take the deep dive. I'm going to do an episode of Archie's Briefings tonight, but it won't be about this because I don't want to just take a few hours to speed through it. I need to sit with information and really evaluate and use critical thinking skills. We got to be able to navigate and discern what's true, what's not, what's speculation, and what's actual fact. We got to be able to do that. So thank you all again for watching. I'm going to go heat my coffee because I'm talking for a while. Thank you guys for joining me. See you later today on Archie's Briefings. Love you. Kepler.